Something that we have an entire chapter on in the book, although we address it several different places in the book, which is biometrics. And it's becoming a much bigger thing, both because of the collection methods that we've been talking about here. In other words, there's a lot of cameras out there. There's a lot of audio out there that pick up your voice. There are other ways that people are capturing your image and the measurements of your physical form at any given time. And that's really what biometrics is. Biometrics is the measurement of something about you. Now, that all sounds very benign. We can take you and measure you. However, the reason that you do this is for identification frequently, because I measure the facial points that we know that are unique to you, and then when you show up on our cameras, I know that it's you. Same thing with vocal patterns. We can easily do that.
This all sounds good so far, Ted.
Yeah, exactly. So we know it's you. That's not a problem at all. And let's talk about how some of that is used. I mean, law enforcement clearly can use it, but business uses it in your favor as well. I mean, they like to know if you come into the bank that you're really who you say you are, and you're the person who has the right to get the money out of your particular account.
And that could protect me better.
And that protects you much better. Similarly, the vocal pattern is even more important because that allows a bank or a store or whoever you're working with, your employer, to tell that they're really talking to you over the phone. If they're going to be giving out secrets, if they're going to be giving out your account number or medical information, it helps to know that they're really talking to the right person. And knowing your biometrics is one of the easiest ways to do that. But keep in mind, there's a number of biometrics that we're talking about. We have actual physical biometrics, and I always think of them on a continuum. So on one hand, you can take things like your face or your voice, which are physical things that you and I are offering out there every day to people. I mean, when I go out in the public, when I go to a restaurant, they know me by my face, they know me by my voice. And I'm perfectly fine with that. So there are very public biometrics. Then there are more private ones that are somewhere in between, things like my gait, how I walk, my hand geometry, the measurement of my eyes, for example, which you could take. And I read this week that there's a machine that police are now using that actually can take fingerprints from more than 20 feet away.
Fantastic.
So they can take a picture of your fingerprint and know that they have you.
And criminals would never get that technology, would they?
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, as we move further down, it becomes more and more disconcerting of what people are taking. To the point of I can actually measure the thoughts coming out of your head in some ways. I can measure electronically what your brain signals are saying.
So you already know I'm thinking about lunch right now?
I do.
Oh,
I do. And you're
scary.
thinking of salmon salad, which I think is
that
is
is
normal.
scary.
Exactly. But the problem is when the bad guys start knowing that, or even when the car dealers start knowing what you're thinking, or that the right part of your brain is lighting up so that it's time to send the salesman over because they know you're going to be willing to pay more for this car. So from facial recognition to things like fingerprints to things like another good thing to use is actually the vein patterns under your fingers, which is good because you can't just cut off somebody's finger and use it then. You can have a proof of life when you're using that biometric for identification, all the way to thought patterns and things that we thought were completely private. And these are all biometric measurements that can be made.